This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another one of our speaker series. Today is June 16th, and we're here with Samantha, who is a Boston-based full-stack developer at Perkin-Elmer Incorporated. Samantha began her software development career in a unique way. After graduating with a degree in psychology, she held a number of different roles, but was having difficulty finding fulfillment in her daily work. She always had a curiosity for learning how to code and decided that it was time to pursue the interest by teaching herself the fundamentals of programming. She enjoyed the problem-solving aspect of coding and became excited about the doors that this field could actually potentially open for her. Eventually, she found out about Resilient Coders, which is a 14-week nonprofit coding boot camp in Boston that offers programs for young people of color to explore opportunities in tech by equipping them with the knowledge and skills to prepare for like a high growth career in software and engineers and connect with other jobs as well. So without further ado, we'll hand it over to Samantha. Thank you so much for coming in. I can't believe it's hard for me to say Samantha.
No worries. Yes, thank you for having me. Yeah, I am a full stack developer at Perkin-Elmer, and I've been working there for over a year now. And I really started learning how to code on my own back in 2018 and took it more seriously when I joined the Resilient Coders program and graduated last year in May.
Great. Could you fill in the audience on what a full stack developer is?
Yeah, so is able to do a developer is someone who able to front end development as well as back end development, front end design, and being able to design websites and mobile applications, and back end being able to work with the database as well.
Okay.
And so with both front end and back end, sorry about that. I think there's a bit of a lag on my end, but with both front end and back end, you are a full stack developer.
Okay. Yeah, it was just a little bit of a lag, no issue. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey? So I find that's amazing that you had a degree in psychology. What made you want to, I don't want to say jump ship because you didn't really, but what made you kind of change your direction from psychology to computers and coding?
Yeah, so after graduating with my Bachelor of Science in Psychology from Bridgewater State, I had a lot of trouble finding employment that was able to sustain my my life. And so I did a lot of browsing around and career shopping, I guess, for at least 4 years, well, 3 years, and entertained coding when I met someone who is also a Black software engineer and was inspired by their journey. And this person was a self-taught full stack developer. And I was very curious to learn how to code after that, and started learning how to code on my own just to see if it was something that I can get into. And the one thing that I noticed about coding is people don't really know if they're good at it or not until they try it. So that was me trying it out, and I really enjoyed it. So I went and decided that that's what I wanted to do.
Could you give us a little tip on how to see if we would like coding? That seems like for me, like when I think about it, it seems so technical, like you need tons of schooling for it. How did you just try it yourself?
Yes. So there's a ton of MOOC courses online. And the MOOC course that I found was on Coursera. There's other platforms such as Udemy, Udacity, Code Academy, Free Code Camp, edX, and etc. that have the capacity to learn skills and the fundamentals of those skills. So I started learning how to code through Coursera's web development for everybody course, just to see if it was something that I wanted to do. And luckily, to audit the course is free. So it really allows for folks to like get a snippet of what it is.
That's wonderful. Because there's a whole bunch of kids that we work with on a daily basis, and there's other merit badges that scouts would have to work on, and coding, I believe, is one of them. And it's just for me, like I also graduated from Bridgewater State, but I could never find myself going into anything that had to do with computers, which is why I might ask silly questions like, what is the difference between like working on the front end and then the back end, and how a full stack does both? What's the difference between the front and the back?
Yes. So the front end is strictly design. It's the interface of the website or the mobile application. It is the client side code that the users interact with. It's what the user sees. Whereas the back end, it has more to do with the database and the information that the user provides on the platform through interacting with the client side of the application. And the backend is where, stores all the data. A lot of times backend developers are writing data queries to store data and work with Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that to organize the data.
What kind of products or websites do you code for? Is there any particular one job that you code for?
Yes. So I've worked on a number of teams. I worked on teams that are for order visibility for clients that would like to know where their order is. So I work for a biotech company called PerkinElmer, and a lot of the clients of those of PerkinElmer are hospitals, and they buy a lot of their technology. And before, there wasn't visibility in terms of tracking the orders and seeing where they were. And people, hospitals just made their orders and just like waited for them to come in. And so we did an order visibility application so that they could track the orders and could spend less time on the phone with sales representatives. And then now I'm working on the e-commerce website of the company, and I deal with a lot of resolving bugs on the website.
What kind of characteristic or character traits do you think make a great coder?
Yeah, I think a characteristic that makes a great coder is someone who is determined to solve problems. There has to be creativity in how coders go about it. And a lot of times there's many different ways to solve the same problem. And so the bulk of coding is problem solving and taking a real world problem and creating a solution through code and technology. So a love for problem solving is fundamental.
Would you say that when you made your transition from psychology to coding, do you think that your love for problem solving would be better spent on the coding side than maybe maybe solving somebody's problems in psychology?
Yeah, actually, that's funny because I feel like um, I definitely love building really neat technology, but I still find myself problem solving through code with user experience design and empathizing with the user and creating wireframes and mockups that users interact with. So I do a lot of empathizing in that way through technology, and I still am able to pour into my psych degree in different ways outside of work, which has been cool.
That's great. It's cool that that's what worked out. It's very interesting. Um, What did you want to be when you grew up originally? Because it seems like you know, if you wanted to be a psychologist and all of a sudden, you were computers, I only feel as though maybe you wanted to do something even before psychology.
Yes. So actually, for a long time, I wanted to be a world-renowned psychologist. And it is always it's always a passion of mine. So while I was at Bridgewater, I did a lot of my own research on psychology outside of the classroom and um, and poured into myself in that way. But when I was growing up, before I discovered psychology, I was exposed to computers a lot. I had a computer in my room and I was always on it. I was always playing games. I was always using CDs to learn new things. And not only that, but I feel like there was always technology around me growing up with the evolution of video games. And I feel that planted a seed that I didn't know about before because I didn't know that I didn't know what coding was then until meeting a coder later on in life.
Did you ever have was that person like a huge influence to help you kind of take the reins and run with the coding, or did you have anybody that you looked up to like before, either when you wanted to be a world-renowned psychologist or in coding? Did you have a mentor or anybody you looked up to?
Yeah, I looked up to a lot of founders, tech founders, and startup founders who started their own like tech companies, such as Blavity and Morgan DeBon and Jeff Nelson, who founded that company, and that kept me going to continue pursuing tech. And one of the things that kept me inspired while learning how to code was always wanting to attend an AfroTech conference to be a part of that environment and meet other folks in tech. So that kept me inspired.
Did you find it hard to get a job in programming or coding without a specific degree in that field?
No, I didn't. And this is because I graduated from Resilient Coders and they prepared us very well to start working in the field. Resilient Coders has a lot of, had some hiring partners who are ready to hire graduates. And also the program prepares us to be able to work full time as software engineers. So I started working 2 weeks after graduating the program. So I graduated the program towards the end of April, and I started working last year, May 20th, I think.
Great. We have a question from the audience here. Could you explain a little bit more about what Resilient Coders is and what they do and how the program might be set up?
Yes. So Resilient Coders it was last year a 14-week boot camp. Now it expanded and it's now 20 weeks. And it is a full stack development boot camp. So it takes us through front end and back end. And it serves underserved people of color who are looking to break into the tech industry in Boston. And it takes folks who have no experience at all. All you need is a high school diploma to be a part of the program. And it prepares us for roles in software development. It's also a nonprofit program, and they they have a stipend as well for folks who are part of it, biweekly stipend to sustain ourselves because it is a huge sacrifice and time commitment to learn how to code, and so we were supported in that way.
So in that 14 to 20 week process, How many hours per day or how many days per week was it? Was it super intensive?
Yeah, so the program is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. But a lot of times I didn't get home, I didn't leave the building, the CIC building in downtown Boston until like 10 p.m. midnight. And it was more like a lot of 12-hour days or at least 8-hour days. Yeah, very intense.
How do you go about getting into resilient coders? Do you have to apply or is it through grant or interview?
Yeah, so to get into Resilient Coders, on their website, folks can apply for a hackathon, and the hackathon is their way of recruitment. So, so folks apply to be a part of this huge hackathon event. There's usually like 40 to 80 people who attend, and the goal is to take a crash course that day in HTML and CSS, and to build a website that could solve a real world problem. And really what they're looking for is folks who are determined, who don't give up, who Google things that they don't know the answers to, um, and who show a passion for being in the program.
That's amazing and what a cool concept. Do you get to volunteer or go back there and give back to the program at all?
Yeah, I do a lot of volunteer back to Resilient Coders, and I tutor folks who are currently in the program. I also help folks who have just gotten jobs through this year's recent graduates in terms of navigating the workspace. And so any way that I can volunteer, I am so ready to, because this program really did change my life.
That's great, and what a cool thing or an opportunity in order to give back to what helped you out as well. What is one of the coolest or creative projects you've worked on?
So I think right now, the project that I'm working on right now, which is the company's website, has been really cool. Just to see what's going on, the different moving parts, and to contribute directly to the company's website has been absolutely fun. Besides that, I feel that a lot of my final project that I did for Resilient Coders was an interview chatbot. And so before I started the program, I was a recruiter, and then I was quickly promoted to talent acquisition specialist. And so the application that I created for my final project was an interview chatbot to expedite the process and to skip the phone screen. And so the person is able to sign in, make an account, and be given a unique URL to interact with this chatbot that will ask all the initial phone screen questions and follow-up questions and record those answers and save it for the recruiters to take a look at later when they get the chance.
Oh, wow. Earlier you mentioned, and I have jotted down here, something about the AfroTech Conference. Could you go on a little bit about that for us?
Yes.
Explain it.
Yes. So the AfroTech Conference is a huge conference for Black folks in tech, and it's in California, Oakland, California. I was able to go last year, November, and it was over 10,000 people attending, and just a lot of folks, founders in tech. I think the founder of Lyft was there, and he had a talk as well. And it was just very inspiring to be around folks who have created technology that have literally changed our lives. So it was a great opportunity that I've always wanted to experience.
Great. So you're talking about, or we were trying to make that connection between your psychology degree and relationships and relationships with your customers and coding. because coding kind of seems isolated, right? So how do you kind of mix the two? How do you make that flow? You also said that that you use your psychology outside, but just the way you were talking and kind of smiling about building those relationships. How do you kind of mix the two?
Mix the two of coding
Oh,
and
like having your psychology degree with your coding and your coding
oh yeah.
customers.
Yeah, so I mix the two when I think about how the technologies that we build impacts everyone that use them in terms of accessibility, um, and also in terms of uh, making it so that all users who experience the app are seen and thought about when building it. And so that's how I think the two go together in terms of thinking about how technology impacts us in a real way, because it does, and it impacts all of us, and to think about how all of us interact with it to keep every community in mind.
Do you do any side projects on your own or code for other companies?
Um, no, no, I don't have the bandwidth to do it just yet, at least. I want to at some point, and I've been pitched some really neat projects and new social media ideas and journalism websites, but I haven't had the bandwidth just yet. But when I do, I really want to pour into some new stuff. I know there's some things going on right now in terms of like activism and technology that protesters can utilize, but it's a lot. It's a lot of hard work for sure.
Do you see yourself starting your own business or your own site anytime soon?
No, I actually don't. I don't see it. But if I were to, and I've been entertaining it, it would just be another platform to help folks who are looking to learn how to code who have never had any experience. And so that's something I wanted to at some point. But for right now, I've been really honing in on learning as much as I can on the job as well as on my free time and gaining the experience so that I'm more prepared and equipped to share, to knowledge share with others who are learning and looking to learn how to code.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or maybe what's your end goal when it comes to coding?
So I definitely want to be senior level or tech lead at some point in my career. I want to be more on the architectural side of things and building out technical architecture and mentoring junior developers. And so I see myself doing that, and I see myself helping out others who are learning and looking to break into tech.
Other than tech, or so I guess outside of tech, what are some of your other passions or hobbies that you take part
Mhm.
in?
Yeah, so outside of that, I do a lot of organizing work in the community for women of color, centered on wellness and mental health, and participate a lot in the art scene, supporting artists as well. So any way that I can see the community thriving is where I like to pour in most of my time. And if that looks like wellness, then it's wellness. If it looks like mental health, then it's mental health. If it looks like a career trajectory, then it's that too.
Is there any examples that you could give us about like the wellness or mental health type of either events or what kind of outside thing that you do?
Yes. So I founded a program called Queens Talk back in 2017. Yeah, it's going to be year 4. And we do a lot of work with mental health professionals in the community. We get them into the space we have a lot, we host light conversations and hard conversations relating to our wellness and self-care and holistic ways to approach them. And we always have a mental health therapist present for those who want to debrief about their experiences or for visibility to see what mental health professionals look like and to hopefully encourage folks to at some point consider a practice and seeing a professional for their mental health needs.
That's great. What would you say to anybody who might be thinking, geez, I have a degree in something and it's really not doing it for me, but I want to try something different. Is there any advice you would give anybody in terms of how you kind of transferred over from one thing to another?
Yes, I say try it. Definitely talk to people who work in the fields that you're interested in to ask them lots of questions, interview them, get to know their experience, ask them how they got here. And you can always do all the things that you love and enjoy, and pursuing a career does not mean that you are sacrificing your passions. And I feel like that's a misunderstanding that a lot of people have, or a misconception, is that you need to sacrifice your love, your art, your advocacy, your community work for your career, and that is not the case.
Thank you very much. Is there anything that you would like to plug, any of your outside projects or anything before we take off, because we're wrapping up?
Yeah, so for those who want to follow Queen's Talk, it's on Meetup, meetup.com/Queen's Talk. And for those who are looking for more information about resilient coders, they can always check out resilientcoders.org for more info.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for coming in and doing this. We really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and good luck with all your coding, both on the front end and the back end, and everything moving forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.